and welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. We're glad you're joining us today.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
So let's dive right into a topic that's on a lot of people's minds: passive income streams for retirement.
Yeah, the idea of having money coming in without having to work for it. It's really appealing, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's something that can really make a difference in your retirement lifestyle.
Exactly. So today, we'll explore different ways to create those streams, from investments to real estate, and even some creative options that people might not consider.
Right. We'll also touch on how important it is to start planning early, and how to set realistic expectations for your income needs in retirement.
And let's not forget about the importance of diversifying your income sources. It's all about finding a mix that works for you.
For sure. Plus, we'll share some practical tips that can help you get started, no matter where you are in your retirement planning journey.
Sounds like a plan.
So let's jump right in. David, can you kick us off by explaining what passive income really means in the context of retirement?
Emily, when we talk about creating passive income streams for retirement, it's really important to highlight why this is such a pressing issue right now.
Absolutely. With everything going on in the economy, it feels like there's just a lot to navigate.
Right. If you look at the current retirement timelines, many people are planning to retire earlier or later than they initially intended. Factors like job changes or health issues can really shift those timelines.
Exactly. And then there's inflation. It's been a hot topic lately. People are worried about their savings losing value.
Yeah, inflation can really eat away at fixed income. For instance, I had a client, let's call her Linda, who is planning to retire in 5 years. With inflation rates rising, she started to reconsider how long she'll need to work.
That makes sense. So what did you suggest to her?
Well, I suggested she explore some passive income options like rental properties or dividend stocks. These can potentially outpace inflation.
That's a smart approach. And there's also the market volatility to consider, right?
Absolutely. The stock market can be unpredictable. I'm sure you've noticed how it swings up and down. That can really shake someone's confidence about their retirement savings.
For sure. I've heard stories from folks who were planning to retire last year but delayed because of those market dips.
Exactly. One couple I spoke with, they were ready to retire but decided to wait after seeing their portfolio drop during a market downturn. They felt they needed to recoup those losses first.
And that's where passive income can really save the day, isn't it?
You're spot on. It's about having that steady income that doesn't rely solely on the stock market. It gives people a sense of security, especially with Social Security benefits potentially changing.
Oh yes, those changes can be daunting. It's hard to rely on something that feels so uncertain.
Right, and with healthcare costs continuing to rise, planning for those future expenses is crucial. You have to factor in Medicare out-of-pocket costs and even long-term care.
That's a big one. I know many retirees worry about how they'll cover those expenses without draining their savings.
Exactly. I had a client, let's say his name is Tom. He was concerned about how much he might need for healthcare, and that kept him up at night.
Did he find any solutions?
Well, we talked about creating a passive income stream to cover those healthcare costs, which really eased his mind. He's now looking at options like annuities that provide guaranteed income.
That sounds promising.
And we can't forget about legacy planning. Many people want to leave something behind for their loved ones. If you can create passive income, it can help with that too.
Totally. I think about how a lot of retirees want to gift their family something meaningful, maybe even assist with college tuition or a down payment on a house.
Yes, it's all about creating a lasting impact. I had a client who, by setting up a trust that generates income, was able to help her grandchildren with education costs while still enjoying her retirement.
That's wonderful. It really brings a sense of purpose to their financial planning.
Exactly. And, the emotional side of financial security is so important. When people feel secure about their money situation, they can truly enjoy their retirement.
It's like lifting a weight off their shoulders.
Exactly. I had a client, we'll call her Sarah, who was consumed with anxiety about her savings running out. Once we established a reliable passive income strategy, she felt a huge relief.
That's a game changer.
It really is. And now, more than ever, with current economic trends, it's essential to think about how to diversify income sources.
Yes, diversification is key. It helps mitigate risks, right?
Absolutely. If one income stream falters, others can help maintain financial stability.
So it sounds like creating those passive income streams isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's almost a necessity for many folks.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
I love how you put that. And I think it's time we dive into some core strategies for making this happen.
Let's do it. So let's dive into some core strategies for creating those passive income streams. You know, when we talk about passive income in retirement, a lot of folks think about dividends from stocks or rental income from real estate, right?
Absolutely. And those are definitely solid options. But I think it's also important to consider tax-advantaged accounts, like 401ks and IRAs. They can play a huge role in building your income streams.
Exactly, Emily. For instance, many people might not realize that with a traditional 401k, your contributions are pre-tax. So you're lowering your taxable income while saving for retirement, but you'll pay taxes on withdrawals later.
Right, and then there's the Roth 401k option, which is after tax. You pay your taxes now, but all those withdrawals during retirement are tax-free, which is a huge perk.
Yes, and that can really benefit someone who expects their tax rate to be higher in retirement. It's all about looking at your personal situation and projecting your future needs.
Speaking of projections, how do you feel about the classic 4% rule when it comes to withdrawals?
The 4% rule is a great guideline for many retirees. It suggests that if you withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year, your savings should last about 30 years. But it's not set in stone.
Right, it depends on market conditions and your individual expenses. For example, if the market takes a downturn early in your retirement, you might need to adjust that percentage.
Exactly. That's why having a solid withdrawal strategy is critical. Some folks opt for a bucket strategy, where they divide their assets into different buckets based on when they'll need the money.
Oh, I love that concept. It really helps in managing risk and cash flow. You know, you could have one bucket for immediate needs, say cash reserves or short-term bonds.
And then a second bucket for income needs in the next 5 to 10 years, possibly with a mix of dividend stocks and bonds. And then a longer-term bucket that's more growth-oriented, like equities.
That way, you're not forced to sell stocks in a down market just to meet your cash flow needs. It sounds so much more manageable.
Definitely. And when we talk about stocks, a common rule of thumb is the 70-30 portfolio, 70% stocks and 30% bonds. That can offer good growth potential while still providing some stability.
But, of course, that mix can vary based on how close you are to retirement and your risk tolerance, right? A younger retiree might lean more towards stocks, while a more conservative retiree might prefer a heavier bond allocation.
Exactly, and that's where diversification really comes in. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Spreading investments across different asset classes can help manage risk.
And we can't forget about real estate. Rental properties can provide a consistent income stream, but they also come with their own set of challenges, right?
For sure, it's not as hands-off as some might think. Managing tenants, maintenance, and market fluctuations can be a lot of work. But if you have the right team or property management in place, it can be a great source of passive income.
Plus, there's the potential for property appreciation over time, which adds to the appeal. But what about annuities? They seem to be a hot topic these days.
Annuities can be a good option for guaranteed income, especially in retirement. There are different types, like fixed and variable annuities. Fixed annuities provide a set payout, while variable annuities can fluctuate based on the performance of underlying investments.
It's important to read the fine print, though. Some annuities have high fees and surrender charges that can eat into your returns.
Absolutely. And while they can provide stability, they shouldn't be the only component of your retirement plan. It's all about striking that right balance.
And then there's Social Security, which can be a significant piece of the puzzle. Timing your benefits is crucial, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Waiting until age 70 can increase your monthly benefits significantly compared to taking it at 62, but it really depends on your personal situation, health, and financial needs.
Right, and understanding the implications of spousal benefits can also make a big difference. It's not just about your own benefit. It's about maximizing the household income.
Exactly. And let's not forget tax-saving techniques. Tax loss harvesting, for example, can help offset taxes on gains. You can sell investments that have lost value to reduce your taxable income.
That's a smart strategy. And considering the tax implications of your withdrawals is essential too. You want to minimize your taxable income where possible.
Yes, and understanding required minimum distributions, or RMDs, is crucial. Once you hit age 72, you're required to start taking withdrawals from your traditional retirement accounts, which can impact your tax situation.
It's all about planning ahead, isn't it? The more you anticipate these factors, the better prepared you'll be.
Exactly, Emily. And the earlier you start this planning, the more options you'll have.
So with all these strategies in mind, it's easy to see how one can build a robust retirement plan. But there are also some common pitfalls people should be aware of.
Absolutely. It's easy to fall into traps if you're not careful. Let's explore those next. So, Emily, one of the biggest pitfalls we see when people are planning for retirement is the sequence of returns risk.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. I mean, people often think, I'll just withdraw a set amount each year and it'll be fine.
Right. But if they hit a market downturn early in retirement, well, that can really derail their plans.
Yeah, I remember a couple I worked with, let's call them Tom and Linda. They retired in 2008, right before the financial crisis hit.
That must have been tough.
It really was. They had a solid plan to withdraw a certain percentage from their portfolio. But when the market tanked, their withdrawals were eating into their principal.
Exactly. Their investments were down, and they were still taking those withdrawals. It created a double whammy.
Right, and it took them years to recover.
So what's a good strategy to avoid that?
Well, having a diversified portfolio is key. Also, having a cash reserve can help during those downturns, so they aren't forced to sell investments at a loss.
And adjusting withdrawals based on market conditions, that can help too.
For sure. Another common mistake is ignoring taxes when planning withdrawals.
Oh man, taxes can really sneak up on you.
Yeah, like a retiree might think, I'll just take money from my 401k and that'll be that. But they don't realize that's all taxable income.
Right, and if they're not careful, they could push themselves into a higher tax bracket.
Exactly. I had a client, let's call her Sarah. She was planning to withdraw a large sum from her retirement accounts, not considering the tax implications.
What happened?
Well, when tax season came around, she was shocked by how much she owed. It really put a strain on her budget.
Ouch, that's frustrating.
It is, and it's so important to strategize withdrawals to manage that tax burden.
Definitely. Another pitfall is underestimating healthcare costs and longevity.
I think many people just assume Medicare will cover everything.
Right. But in reality, they could face substantial out-of-pocket costs for things like long-term care.
And healthcare costs are rising, right?
Yeah. According to studies, a couple retiring today might need around $300,000 just for healthcare in retirement.
Wow, that's a huge number.
It really is. I once worked with a couple. Let's say they were Bill and Jane. They didn't plan for long-term care and ended up needing it.
Oh no.
Yeah, and they had to dip into their retirement savings, which really accelerated their financial stress.
That's such a hard lesson.
It is. And a good way to avoid that is by considering long-term care insurance, or at the very least, having a plan for those expenses.
Absolutely. And then there's poor asset allocation.
Yes, it's so common, especially when people get close to retirement.
They become very conservative. Sometimes too conservative.
Exactly. They might pull out of stocks entirely, thinking that they need to protect their money.
But then they miss out on growth opportunities.
Right. I had a client, let's call him Mike. He moved all his investments to cash right before retiring.
That must have hurt him in the long run.
It did. He missed out on those market gains, and with inflation, his purchasing power dwindled.
So it's about striking that balance, right?
Absolutely. A well-diversified portfolio that reflects their risk tolerance and time horizon can make such a difference.
Speaking of timing, claiming Social Security too early is another common mistake.
Yes. I can't stress enough how important it is to understand the implications of when you claim those benefits.
Totally. I had a client, let's call her Carol. She claimed Social Security at 62 because she needed the money.
But that meant she left a lot of money on the table, right?
Exactly. If she had waited until her full retirement age, she could have received a much larger benefit.
It's a classic case of short-term need versus long-term gain.
Yeah, and for many, it's worth consulting a planner to figure out the best time to claim.
Definitely. those decisions can have lifelong financial impacts.
So how can someone spot these red flags early on?
Great question. I'd say regular check-ins on their financial plan are crucial.
Right. And working with a financial advisor can help them navigate these complexities.
Yes, and they should be proactive about their financial health. If they notice any signs of stress or confusion over their plan, that's a red flag.
Like if they're feeling overwhelmed or unsure about their investments.
Exactly. And it's important to revisit and adjust their strategy as life circumstances change.
So what are the next steps?
Well, first I'd recommend reviewing your withdrawal strategy and make sure it's tax efficient.
And ensure you have a diversified portfolio that aligns with your risk tolerance.
Also, don't forget to account for healthcare costs and consider long-term care options.
Right, and if you're unsure about when to claim Social Security, a planner can really help with that.
It's all about being proactive and making informed decisions.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here for, to guide you through those decisions.
Exactly. Taking ownership of your financial future is empowering.
Well, that wraps up our discussion on common pitfalls and real-life lessons.
Yeah, we hope this helps listeners avoid those traps and feel more confident in their retirement planning.
Definitely. And remember, it's never too late to make adjustments.
Well said. All right, Emily, let's dive into some immediate steps our listeners can take right now to start creating those passive income streams for retirement.
Absolutely. I think the first thing that comes to mind is really reviewing your current financial situation.
Yeah, for sure. A good starting point is to sit down and take a hard look at your portfolio. Maybe set a regular schedule, like quarterly, to review it. You'd be surprised how much can change in just a few months.
Right, and while you're at it, running some retirement projections can be super helpful. There are some great tools out there, like the calculators on Vanguard or Fidelity.
Those are fantastic resources. They can help you visualize where you stand and what adjustments you might need to make.
And don't forget about the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov. It's a great place to estimate your benefits and see how they fit into your overall plan.
Exactly. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, consider using tax software. It can help you understand your tax situation and how it might affect your withdrawals and income streams in retirement.
Yeah, tools like TurboTax or H&R Block can streamline that process. Plus, they often have features for retirement projections too, which is a bonus.
Another approach is to look into financial planning apps. There are so many options now that can help you track your spending, investments, and even your retirement savings goals.
That sounds really helpful. Apps like Mint or Personal Capital are user-friendly and can give you a real-time overview of your financial health.
Definitely. And speaking of health, establishing a habit of reviewing your investments regularly can really pay off. It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment, just a quick check-in every few months.
I love that idea. It makes it feel more manageable. And, running those projections doesn't have to be a one-off either.
Exactly. Make it a part of your routine, like checking your email.
And if you're looking for more resources, there are some great books and podcasts out there focused on retirement planning.
For sure. One book that comes to mind is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. It's straightforward and really empowers you to take control of your financial future.
Oh, I've heard good things about that one. And there's also the Choosify podcast, which dives deep into financial independence. Really inspiring stuff.
Yes, it's all about taking actionable steps, and it's never too late to improve your plan.
Exactly. Even if you're just starting out or you feel behind, small changes can lead to big impacts over time.
And don't overlook the importance of diversifying your income streams. Have you thought about real estate, for example?
That's a great point. Investing in rental properties can be a solid way to create passive income, but it's important to do your research first.
Right. And if that seems daunting, consider real estate investment trusts, REITs, as a more accessible option.
Absolutely. They allow you to invest in real estate without the headaches of being a landlord.
And let's not forget about dividend-paying stocks. They're another avenue for generating passive income.
Yeah, building a portfolio of those can provide a steady income stream while you still benefit from potential appreciation.
So, listeners, if you haven't already, now's the time to start identifying those opportunities that align with your goals.
And it's all about taking those small, consistent steps. You don't have to have it all figured out right away.
Exactly. Even if you just commit to reviewing your portfolio this month, that's a win.
And remember, it's about building habits over time. Make it a part of your life, and you'll see the benefits.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, I think we really dug into some important points about creating passive income streams for retirement today.
Absolutely, David. One of the biggest takeaways is that diversifying your income sources can really help reduce financial stress.
Right, and we talked about real estate investments like rental properties as a solid option. They can provide that steady cash flow, which is so crucial.
And don't forget about dividend-paying stocks. That's another way to build that passive income, right? It's like getting paid to own a piece of the company.
Exactly, and also, those peer-to-peer lending platforms we discussed, they can offer higher returns, but, they do come with their own set of risks.
Yes, definitely a balance there. It's all about finding what works for you personally and what fits into your overall retirement plan.
And let's not overlook the importance of starting early. The sooner you begin to build those streams, the more time your money has to grow.
For sure, compounding interest is a powerful thing.
So as you think about building and protecting your retirement wealth, remember that having multiple income streams can truly provide peace of mind.
Right, it's about creating that financial freedom to enjoy your retirement years to the fullest without the constant worry about money.
And speaking of enjoying retirement, we'd love to hear from our listeners. If you found some value in today's episode, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below sharing your biggest takeaway or maybe a question you have.
Yes, and if you know someone who's planning for or already in retirement, share this episode with them. It might just spark some ideas.
Exactly. And next time, we'll dive into a really important topic: how to reduce risk in your retirement portfolio.
That's going to be a great conversation, David.
It sure will.
Until then, take care and keep planning for that bright retirement future.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone.